Hey everyone, this is Kogi from creativekogi.com and welcome to this cal. It's a daily cal. This is a new one for me. I'm going to see if I can keep up. I'm calling it not just your basic granny square, but it is just a granny square. We're just going to introduce a few new stitches if you're a beginner level, just to help you understand how to crochet a granny square. And if you're an experienced crocheter, then just to take some time out. Most of us are under lockdown because of COVID-19, and it is a stressful time. And I just wanted to give you something seriously simple, that you didn't really have to concentrate or count stitches or anything like that, and just to have a little bit of fun and yeah, just enjoy it and going back to the basics. So many of us get involved in intricate projects. Even when I'm trying to design squares or blankets, I want to go in between the rounds and back and forth and all sorts. And I'm just slowing it right down. So let's start. Okay, so let's get started then. What do you need? This is a Stash Buster project. Um, just pick up whatever you have. I'm going to use a double knit acrylic yarn for mine. I don't even know what colors. I'm just going to choose at random. Um, so yeah, choose a hook size that is suitable for your yarn. You could decide if you want to use various thicknesses. To create quite a textured blanket. It's really, really up to you. You could also do variegated or a yarn cake. I leave it to you. Okay, so what else do you need? I've got a pair of clippers here to cut my yarn, and then it's a huge needle, but it's got a sharp pointed end, and I like that because it allows me when I'm sewing away my ends to be able to work through the stitches. And then of course your crochet hook and your yarn. Okay, so let's get started with round one. The first thing you need to do is your starting point is actually to create a little loop that you're going to put over your hook. So you just literally wrap the yarn around your pointer and then underneath and pull through. And there you go. You've got your loop and your starting point, and there's your tail to work away. Now, alternatively, you could do a magic ring and you wrap it around your finger, and instead of pulling the loop all the way through, you're going to literally pull a little bit and do a chain one to secure it. And now you will chain 1 and 2. So you've now got a total of 3 chains, which is your first stitch. And now we're going to work a double crochet into that very big hole. So let's just do a few to show you. And now, when you're done, pull it through and you've closed that hole completely. And this is great when you're making toys and you don't want that little gaping hole. But I always worry about whether it's safe enough to use this. So what I do is actually a chain 4. So let me show you what I do. I mean, you're more than welcome to use the magic ring, but you've got to, sew away that end so carefully. The last thing you want is for it to unravel from the middle. So there's my loop, and now I'm going to chain 4. So chain 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now I'm going to slip stitch into that beginning chain. So there's my beginning chain. I'm going to slip there and pull through. And I've created a little ring. And that little ring is what I'm going to work my first round into. Okay, so let's look at the pattern. I ask you to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And that is my first stitch. So that chain 3 is my first double crochet. Okay, and it's the length of a double crochet. So now we are going to work 2 double crochets into that ring. Okay, so that ring that we created. Okay, so there we go. Yarn over into the ring, and I'm doing this quite slowly so you can catch up, and pull a loop, and now you've got 4, yarn over through 2, yarn over through 2. Okay, let me show you this again. Okay, yarn over into the ring, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That is your double crochet, and that is essentially the stitch we're going to use predominantly, or probably 99%, in this blanket. So all you have to do is master the double crochet stitch. And then we're going to chain 2, and now we're going to work 3 double crochets. And just that tail, I'm going to work over that tail to secure it. Okay, so let's work 1 double crochet, 2, and 3. Okay, now we're going to chain 2, and we're going to repeat that. So it's 1, 2, and 3. Okay, now chain 2, and let's do it again. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and there we go. We've got the beginning done, and I've pulled that tail to close in that little hole, and it actually closes it quite nicely. You could see a tiny little space, but really it does close nicely. It's not a big gaping hole, and it's strong. That's the most important thing. Right, so now traditionally what I would do is I would chain 2, and most of you would probably do the same because we want to now create that last corner. So we would chain 2 and then slip stitch at the top of that beginning chain 3, and I give you that option in the pattern too. Then you've got to slip stitch all the way across to that next chain 2 space so that you can start in the corner. Now here's something, this is not me, this is something I learned from Debbie Hemsley from the Neve collection. Instead of chaining 2 and slip stitching, all I do is I find the top of that chain 3 there, and I work a half double crochet into that. There you go. I've closed it, and now I start the next round in exactly the same spot that I ended. And just remember, the half double crochet is yarn over, insert, pull a loop, yarn over, through all. So it's essentially half of that double crochet. Right. Right, so here we are on round 2 then. I'm going to chain 3 to count as my first stitch, and it's in the same spot that I ended. And now I'm going to work 2 double crochets, so 1 and 2. Now that's just half a corner, not a full corner. You can see that. And the reason why I do that is so that when I end off this round, then I can start exactly at the same point again. So we always work half a corner, and you'll see that in all my patterns. Now we're going to work our next corner in that chain 2 space. So it's 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2, 1, 2, and another 3 double crochets in that same chain 2 space. That's 2, and that's 3. So that creates a really nice corner, and I'm sorry that I'm going really fast. If I go slowly, I'm going to create a massive big mess and a loose oblong shaped granny square. So I want to keep it square, and I want to keep my tension consistent, and I can't slow down. When I crochet really fast. So you will have to use the pause button, unfortunately, if you're getting left behind. And yeah, so let's just carry on. So I've been talking so much that I'm now finding it difficult to explain where I am. And I'm also creating a bit of a mess with my yarn, but not to worry, I'll fix that in a little bit. That's what happens when you have odd balls that are not rolled up properly. So yeah, I'm now in my next corner. So look at those lovely corners, and I'm almost at the end. So let's go another 3 double crochets, a chain 2 and 3 double crochets. So there we go. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, chain 2, and 3. And I'm almost at the end. So now I'm going to work my, and this is really annoying me that I've now created a bit of a mess, but anyway, my last 3 double crochets, which is my last corner, and I've decided I'm going to change colors. So I have to anyway, I don't have a choice with this mess. So I can chain 2 and slip stitch at the top of that beginning chain 3 right there. So I can insert my hook in there and I can pull that through. Oops. And slip stitch and I can end it off. Okay. But I want to show you something that's a little bit different. So let's just open that. Now I'm going to get this clippers of mine, cut my thread. Oh, that's awful clippers. They're quite blunt. Okay, so I'm going to pull that loop all the way through. There you go. And now I'm going to do an invisible join. So thread my very large needle. There you go. And essentially what you do is you insert it into that third chain and now work across back into that chain 2. Don't pull too tightly, okay? So keep it quite loose. You want it to look like just like the other corners. Don't pull too tightly. And now essentially you work that yarn away. And there you go. If you look at it now, that corner doesn't have an uneven bump. There's no knot. It's invisible. That's exactly why it's called invisible join. And now just simply work that yarn away. Now I'm being very diligent here. I'm working away the yarn. I usually don't. I'm lazy. I leave it to the end. I try and avoid it at all costs. I sometimes give it to a friend. Cynthia is awesome. Cynthia Shablom from the Wool Shop. She helps me work away my ends. So yeah, just work it away, cut the thread, and now the starting yarn, I'm going to thread this needle again. And literally what I'm going to do is work this yarn away into that center, into that beginning. So I'm just going to work it through. I'm piercing stitches. That sharp point helps me to do that, which means it won't come undone. And this is a blanket. Blankets get used and pulled and, and the last thing you want is for it to start to come apart in the middle. So I'm working it away. It's secure. I'm going to clip that. And there you go. Done. I'm done. I'm done with round 2. Let's get started now with round 3. So here's my square, and I've got 2 rounds, and I'm now going to start round 3. And I just want to show you how to start with a standing double crochet. So I basically put the loop over my hook. I hold it and I support it with my finger. You can see me supporting it there with my ring finger. And it's quite tight. So look, I'm holding it quite tightly. So I go yarn over, insert into that chain 2 space. And I'm pretending that that stitch is anchored on. Okay. And I just work a double crochet. There we go. And I've created a stitch. This is so much better than a chain 3, I promise, and it's so much neater. It's just a proper stitch that's almost as if it's suspended, and it's easy to work that last stitch into that beginning stitch as well. So I'm doing my corner, and I remember I said we always do half a corner. So there's my 3 double crochets, and now I'm going to work in between that 2 groups of 3 double crochet. So just in between, I'm going to work 3 double crochet. So that's 2 and 3. Now I'm going to work a corner. So a corner is going to have that chain 2 space. Okay, so 1, 2, 3 double crochets, chain 2, and another 3 double crochets. There you go. And I've created that lovely square corner. Can you see that? And now back in that space, we're going to work a 3 double crochet. Really, now at this point, you can stop thinking about it. You'll find that it flows quite easily once you get the hang of this granny square pattern. This is your absolute basic stitch. It's where we've all started when to learn when we started crocheting, and it's very therapeutic. I must admit, it's one of those projects where I don't have to think about it, and yeah. Let me just explain this to you quickly before I get too carried away. I don't have a chain one space in between because I want to keep it quite tight and neat. I think that if you add too many chain spaces in between, then you're going to end up with something that's very loose. So to avoid that and to try and keep it as square as possible, I don't do the chain one spaces in between. The only time I have the chain spaces is in the corners. So there we go. The last round, the last side, sorry. So 3 double crochets and now I'm back in my corner. So work my double crochets 1, 2, and 3. Now watch this, okay? It's lovely, hey, that's a lovely square. Now remember that standing double crochet. I'm going to keep the same color, so I'm going to work a half double crochet, but look how easy. You simply hold that knot to the back. Oops. Hold that knot to the back, insert your hook, pull through, yarn over, pull through all. Simple. Isn't that so much easier than working through the chain 3? Now we start over the next round. We're going to chain 3 and work 2 double crochets. Now essentially this round is the same as the last. Your typical granny square, but instead of just one space, you now have 2. So you've got 2 sets of 3 double crochets. There you go, 1, 2, and 3. And you've got your next set. And now you work your corner, which is your 3 double crochet. Let's start that again. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, and 1, 2, and 3. Now, for those of you who are crocheting for the first time, and I'm just going to tell you this as I work my way around, you could just keep going with this until you run out of yarn, and you could make a massive big blanket. You could change colors, you could go with one color. And this is your basic granny square pattern. What I'm going to do is try and show you some other stitches. So you'll find that at the end of this at this round, I do want to change colors because I want to introduce a new stitch. But if you're feeling like you're not quite ready, then just follow this pattern. Just keep going around and around and around. Just remember where your corner is, so that you could end off with a half double crochet. Or you could keep changing colors. You could make a multicolored square. But this is the absolute basic granny square pattern. And there we go. We're almost at that last side. So yeah, we are on the last side. So let's just finish that. It's 3 double crochets, then one more set in the next space between the 2 there. And I'm now in that corner. So I'm going to work that 3, and there you go. I am done. I have a lovely little square. You can see it's all nice and neat. It's not very loose. It's not folding over. I think my tension's perfectly fine. Um, I've now done 4 rounds. We've got 2 more rounds for tonight. Not much to go. I did say only 30 minutes, so we still have time. And now I'm going to end that. So let me stop there and I will meet you on the next round. But what I need to do is get rid of those clippers and get myself a pair of scissors. So yeah, I'm going to work an invisible join. Now let me do that and I'll allow you to end off and we'll see each other just now. All right, so there is our little granny square. And we are now going to start with a new stitch, and I think this color matches. Yeah, it's a lighter shade of blue. And let me start with a standing double crochet. Now I've explained it to you, so I don't need to do that again, but essentially yarn over, insert, pull the stitch, and work a double crochet, but you're holding that stitch quite taut, and look how neat that looks. Now remember to read the pattern here. I'm not doing 3 double crochets in the corner. I'm just doing 2. Okay, so this isn't your cluster stitches. We're just doing your typical double crochet. Now, where I'm pointing at is that hidden stitch, and I say do not skip that stitch. Why do we call it a hidden stitch? Often what happens is that stitch, you'll see the loop lies to the right of the post of a stitch, and it gets hidden underneath that corner stitch. So we call it the hidden stitch. So don't skip it. You can actually see it quite clearly on these rounds. You're going to work in that hidden stitch, and what you're going to have on this side is 12 double crochet. So you're essentially just working 1 stitch in each of those stitches from the previous round. So there we go. I'm sorry, I know I have apologized before, but I am going quite fast. But essentially, you could stop at any time and you could then catch up with me. But look at that. Look at that. It's just, the different stitch definition, and it just creates such a nice pattern. So here's my corner. I'm going to do 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. And now I'm going to work in each of those stitches. So I've got 12 double crochets in the side. Now, you could use just these 2 stitches also. Your double crochets in the row, you could do in a dominant color because it will that rows actually do stand out. And you could do your granny square stitches, they're all granny squares, but you could do your cluster stitches in other colors. Ages ago, I had made cushion covers for my continental pillows just using the cluster stitch and the straight stitch, and I did the straight stitches in a deep red, and it really stands out. Alternatively, you could just work in the round, so that is making a square, not going side to side but going in the round, just using this stitch as well. So if you're a beginner and you not quite sure whether you like the clusters, a lot of people don't like the little holes. They're not big holes. You could actually do work in the square just using this 1 double crochet in each stitch. So there we go. We are almost at the end of row 5. I'm struggling a bit there because that is where I did my invisible join and where I stitched into that point, but I did manage to get it through. And yeah, so I'm just in each stitch, and now I am done with all 4 sides, and that is the end of round 5. So I'm going to finish up my corner. I don't want to change yarn. I think I'm going to do the next round in the same yarn because it is the same stitch. Let me just double check that. Yes, that is what the pattern says. So 2 double crochets, and I'm going to do a half double crochet in that beginning. And that's it. That's the end of round 5. We're still under 30 minutes. All right, we are on the final round for tonight. So I'm going to start this round with a chain 3. And remember, our corner is 2 double crochets. So I'm doing half a corner. Now this time, and because I want to change my stitch count for the next round, I'm going to ask you to skip the hidden stitch. So don't work in that first hidden stitch. You're going to work 1 double crochet in each of the next 15 stitches. And again, it's not really essential to count. It's easy to see where to place your stitches, and once you finished a side, just hold it out, have a look to see that you didn't skip anything. How easy is this? So we're just essentially working 1 double crochet in each of those stitches all the way to the end. And I'm really liking this. I really like how it's coming out. So my corner is 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, and now here skip that first hidden stitch and work in the next stitch, so 1 double crochet in each of the next 15 stitches. So whilst I do this, let's just recap quickly. What is it that you have learned this week? You've learned how to do, well, you start. You could either do your, your chain 4 start. You could do a magic ring start. You've learned how to do a double crochet stitch, which is fairly simple. You have learned how to start a very basic granny square pattern. I've also showed you how to do an invisible join, and just the invisible join. If you're not completely sure that your stitch count is correct, especially on some of the more intricate patterns, then don't do the invisible join. Once you've done it, it is almost impossible to open it out. Rather than just pull through and just pull your yarn through and create a little knot. I know expert crocheters will tell you not to use knots, but I just worry that it will come undone. And when you are absolutely sure that your counts are correct, then you can go and work those ends away. If you are 100% sure that your count is correct, then please use the invisible join. Do it as you go. It makes it so much easier in the end, because then you don't have to sit and work away all those ends. So we did the invisible join, and I also showed you how to do the standing double crochet, and also how to work if you want to not change colors and start in the same spot where you ended, to use a half double crochet instead of a chain 2. That's quite a lot. I really hope that you've enjoyed this week. I'm going to now end this off. I've now brought my scissors in because that clippers were so blunt. But look at this. I'm going to stop right there, and work away the ends. But how awesome is that? I hope you are happy. I hope you are having fun. And yeah, it looks like I really, chosen these colors deliberately. It's not the case, I promise. I just pulled, at random, different little balls. You'll see me get a little bit crazy tomorrow. But yeah, I hope you've had fun. And I'm looking at the timer, and we are literally at 30 minutes. How is that perfect timing? So there we are. End of day 1, and I will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.